So let me ask you a few questions about the flat Earth theory. See if I'm just going to throw a few hypotheticals out there, see what makes sense, bounce some ideas off of people. Say at some point they really did discover the Earth is not what was discovered and changed from what used to be people believing on the flat Earth. Then all of a sudden, all these scientists came and said, "Oh no, your religion's wrong. This is where we really live. We live on a globe." They had all these mathematical equations they could do to disprove what people could see with their face, with their senses, with their eyes, their ears, their touch, their being. Every fiber of their being tells you don't live on a globe that's hurling through space, spinning around. Again, like my last video, if we're on a ball Earth spinning around, surrounded by this hollow atmosphere, how does that make the atmosphere spin at 1,000 miles an hour? It's so fucking absurd. You've got to believe in voodoo to believe the shit. Because every real world experience around us, simple as a home fan cooling your ass off on a hot day, has propeller blades. Because if you just put a circle in the middle of that fan prop, it's not going to get too cool. It's not going to create airflow. It's not going to make the atmosphere spin at 1,000 miles an hour around it. There would have to be something creating the resistance to get the air moving. So that alone is so absurd, I can't believe people believe it. Because this invisible radioactive atmosphere just suddenly causes all the... Really? Wow. Really? Okay. So they start teaching people all this globe model. The exact opposite of everything that real world observation should tell us. That we are the center of the universe. That we are it. Okay? So what do? You create this vast universe, millions, billions, trillions. When they started pushing all this stuff, the word trillion was used so very little. It was an unimaginable number to people. Okay? But as they start building this prison industrial complex, military industrial complex, indoctrination industrial complex called schools around it, all of this money they pumped into the military industrial complex, the space industrial complex, NASA, all of that. Do you think all that money's really gone to space research and military research? Insofar as bullets and bombs and tanks and planes? No. A lot of it's gone into figuring out how to control you, how to better sway you. A lot of it's gone into Hollywood productions to keep your head in space and keep you imagining about there, so you're not paying attention to what the people here that are running things are really doing. When you watch an evil villain movie, when you watch a superhero movie, the superheroes of old, superhero movies of old that they used to form your sense of good and patriotism and all this, right? The super villain, it's never some poor guy off the street. It's always some pretty rich guy. Do you think they're trying to tell you something? That the rich people actually run the world from behind the scenes? And many times the super villain doesn't come out and say he's a super villain. He's projects himself to be a good member. He's a rich, dignified man, Buffy, right? But behind the scenes, he's really out to get everybody. So do you think maybe all these rich people in the world just maybe created an indoctrination system that's more like a prison for youth, a prison training system, to keep you in line, keep you pushing that button on the machines they have you build, all the while behind the scenes in the military industrial complex, the space industrial complex, the university industrial complex, they're building all this technology. They've got the people sworn to secrecy building all this technology, and then they'll have you push the button on the machine to make it all work and put it together, and it all works. Oh, it's great. Except one thing they fucked up. They got too excited. They had to sell something to people to get the basis of their control system down. So they went to the moon in the late 60s, early 70s. 6 times in 4 years. Made it look easy. 6 times in 4 years with that old ass decrepit technology they had. But then they're going to decide to build a space station that just floats around in the low atmosphere of Earth. Why wouldn't you put the space station on the moon? Isn't the object to get farther away? So if you can already go to the moon 6 times in 4 years, that's a pretty good turnaround. 40 years later, we should have a fucking skyscraper space station on the moon, shouldn't we? Why are we building this space station out just in the orbit of Earth? Aren't we going backwards? I mean, I thought the whole point of NASA was to explore space. So we go to the moon easily 6 times in the early 70s, late 60s with just that shit technology. But then come the 80s and 90s, no, we're going to get shuttles that just go around the Earth in low orbit. And then we're going to build a space station that just goes around Earth in low. Aren't we kind of going backwards here? What? It's almost like they're using the money they made off their bullshit selling you a moon landing hoax to now try and figure out if they can really get off the Earth and get out, which they know they can't. But now the cat's out of the bag. They can't go back. And what happens when people start realizing this education industrial indoctrination complex is exactly what it is? And they start really realizing as they grow up and learn about fractional reserve banking and all the things they aren't taught in school, that they're really just taught a bunch of bullshit to cloud their mind and keep what they really learned in school is to follow authority and listen to everything this authority tells you and don't question it. That is all you learn in school. That's all they want for you to learn in school. So, as people start to figure this out, there's a horrible terror attack in the United States. And suddenly there's a war on terror all over the world, which absolutely there is. You want to know why? Because the shadow puppets, or the shadow puppet masters that really run the world, are terrorized. They are terrified because they realize people are waking up to their con. Slowly but surely, a couple at a time. So they've got to get it under control quick. So they create this horrible terror attack to try to distract people. It distracts a lot of people. But then you still got those nagging motherfuckers that are still saying, wait a minute, this doesn't make much sense. And so you start passing laws called the Patriot Act, making 98% of the plebes out there think, oh, that's to protect patriots, when it's really to start attacking patriots. Because slowly, you let the internet out of the bag also, and people begin to talk. So you got to start doing something to try to curb that. So you start, and you got to get something. There's too many rich people in the United States that are affording to create free time on their hands. They're not worried about going to work every day, going the hustle and bustle. There's a saying out there, idle hands do the devil's work. Well, another deception, because idle minds do God's work, because they get bored and they sit around and they start thinking about things like, the more I look at the sky, the more I stop and feel how I really feel that I have time to just sit here and be, I realize I'm not spinning, we're not hurling through space. Or, boy, it sure seems like my government does a lot to tell me what they're going to do, and then they always seem to do the exact opposite. Boy, it sure seems like my government can't ever get together on anything, Democrat or Republican, except if it's to take more of my rights away lately and tell me how I need to be spied on. Now, this is all post-2001, of course. Meanwhile, as you see the educational standings in the world, we drop out of the top 10, top 20, just keep getting worse, worse, and worse. And as the third world countries that they kept suppressed for so long, well, the technology starts leaking to them. So they start getting smarter and smarter. And a few of them maybe start saying, it seems like we've been fed a lot of bullshit around here. And now that they're catching up to the educational system, maybe they're not buying the propaganda as well as we did. See, if you don't have this national patriotism and we went to the moon and what can we do next? if you don't have all that rah-rah bullshit to spur you along and give you an incentive to believe the propaganda, then it doesn't look quite as pretty. So as the third world starts developing and getting a little smarter, and you try introducing your propaganda to them, maybe a few of them are saying, wow, you're full of shit. You really convinced all these people of this? So you've got the superpower now that you've built all your industrial prison police complex. You've got police officers looking like soldiers now with battle weapons as you declare the world a battlefield because of terrorism, which is all a system to protect those shadow government, because they are terrorized because people are waking up to their bullshit and they know they've got nowhere to go but underground. If they could really get to space, wouldn't they have a nice little space station on the moon to at least go and hide to for a few years? Once we figure out that they're full of shit? No, they've just got this supposed little thing floating around the earth. Why wouldn't you put it on the moon? Please explain that to me. Maybe because it's bullshit. Maybe because everything we've ever been taught, the majority of it is bullshit. Maybe the only thing we've really been taught is to be good order takers, to subvert to authority, to not ask questions, to believe that these people in government have the power to tell us what to do. Maybe that's all we really learned in school. And maybe now that we're realizing what bullshit that is, we're considered terrorists because we terrify them. Maybe that's why there are so many channels out there that come and comment on flat earth videos saying how crazy it is, how ridiculous it is. And you go to those accounts and you realize that's all they do. So you quickly realize it's a concerted effort to control this information. Again, the cat's out of the bag. They cannot deny it. They cannot hide it anymore. So they've got to try to control it. And so maybe now, world, we're in the most dangerous position ever. Because the cat is out of the bag. They cannot put it back in. And their control mechanisms to try and control the flow of information is failing around them. I'm going to tell you something, people. The entire truth movement was all orchestrated. As soon as they saw people starting to ask questions, they quickly devised a plan that we've got to get controlled information out there. You know who it is. I don't even need to mention names. And control the flow of information. Control the way the whole thing goes. And at the same time, flood with just theory after theory after theory. The majority of being about space aliens coming, reinforcing the globe model, that there's some other planet that's going to come and destroy us, or there's some other aliens, but it's always look to space. Space is the big evil one. Whatever you do, don't look at the home you live on. Well, then people start realizing, maybe, they're pushing space so much. Maybe a few people were smart enough to figure out that the whole truth movement has been a controlled opposition psyop from the beginning. Number one, we're all coming out here expressing our distrust and dissatisfaction with the fools out there that have fooled everyone else that they have some sort of power or better knowledge or control, when the only thing they are controlling is your suppression of true knowledge. That's the only thing they hold over you, is they know the truth and have deceived you from it from day one. So the minute people find out about it, they're busted. They cannot put that cat back in the bag. Now that they come out with NASA, come out with all this space bullshit, there is no way they can just say, oops, we were wrong. They have been to space, right? They've been to other planets. So there's no way you can say, oops, it was a mistake. It is an obvious deception. So they have to try to control that, while, meanwhile, we get MRAPs on the streets, reports of billions of dollars of ammo, which could be either trying to take all the ammo off the market, or building up, there's only so many that are going to defend them so they can have all the bullets in the world. You lose one of those, you lose that whole stash. They are panicked. They don't know what to do. I do. Keep questioning. Question everything. The earth is absolutely not what we've been told. And keep putting it in their face. But keep in mind, we are in the most dangerous time ever because they are busted. Their backs are against the wall. So everything they can bring at us, they will continue to bring at us. I'm going to tell you what. You want solutions? The absolute thing that they fear the most as far as this internet and the truth movement is if, God forbid, everybody dropped their differences, found one thing to focus on, one obvious lie you could disprove, and just pounded it, rammed it, demanded answers. If everybody could just come together and find one topic that they feel they have the most proof, and everybody just started hounding it and make them give it attention, make them answer it. Again, throw the hypocrisy in their face and show the world. We don't need all these conspiracies. That's why every time you get, someone starts talking about the TPP, oh, there's a shooting over here. Someone starts talking about 9/11, oh, there's a bombing over here. Oh, this, that. It's all distract, deflect. So everybody chases the new bone. Quit chasing the new bone. You got a big, meaty bone. We got all kinds of things. Building 7, the moon hoax. Pick one. But the worst thing they want you to do is come together. They want you divided, saying, no, it's this conspiracy theory. No, this one's. No, it's this one. No, this one will get them. This. No. As long as we keep chasing all over, we're divided, distracted. That's what they want. That's why this whole truth movement, this whole YouTube was created, to keep us going. Oh no, it's the Anunnaki. Oh no, it's Planet X. Oh no, it's this. Oh no, it's they fucking fooled you about where you live the whole time. Their fucking lies are coming unraveled, and so they're panicking. Divert, distract, divert, distract. The best thing the truth movement can do, period, is to come together, call them on their bullshit, and take them out of power. And you better fucking do it quick.